Welcome back to the Los Alamitos Weekend Preview here. We're going to take a look at the Saturday program at Los Alamitos, which features trials to the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Super Derby. It's that time of the year where every weekend we have some important races to get to, whether it's finals or trials. In this case, Chris, we got trials for the Super Derby. We got some very good familiar names in tonight's card.
Yeah, you got Monopolis, who scratched out of a big race as a heavy favorite to run in tonight's trials, and he figures really nice in tonight's trials off on the efforts off his last effort. He was a crushing victor.
Yeah, names like Flashback, Apolitical Patty, lots of other talented runners. Apolitical Gold, the winner of the Golden State Million last year, he's in these trials as well. But before to get to those trials later on into the program, we're going to take a look at maybe a horse that you like earlier in the card.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at tonight in the fourth race, closing out tonight's early pick 4, the first quarter horse event in the program. Looking at the 2-horse, Zoe Diamond. This horse has had a number of starts, 7 lifetime efforts, a couple runner-up efforts, a third-place finish. It was a much better look second-place finisher last time for Don Farias with a good amount of trouble along the way. It was striding out pretty well versus a well-met winner.
Yeah, let's take a look at that replay here. This was September 11th. What did you see this night, Chris?
Well, the horse got fractures, as per usual, inside the gate, and broke slow and bobbled in away from the barrier, was bumped back, that 4-horse right there, before a nice run midway, and was finishing pretty well the final half of the affair. He ran a very good second versus a well-met winner. Actually, it was the 2-horse, was starting out very well versus a well-met winner and earned a pretty good figure with Run Left to Give Him, but a nice gallop out there. So off that effort, the horse earned the horse to this as effort's best figure, and has a big look here tonight's fourth rent. Bobbled and bumped back right there.
Yeah, gate number 2.
Yeah, was crossed and was striding out pretty well the final half of the affair versus a well-met winner that night, and galloped out pretty well. So this horse earned her best figure in her career off of that effort, and figures to be a nice shot in tonight's fourth event, closing out the early pick 4.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think that runner that defeated her that night was the 6-5 favorite, if I'm kind of thinking off the top of my head. That was a well-met runner that defeated Zoe Diamond. And we forget, first time out, she went favorite because she had worked well prior to making her first start. She just hasn't really put it together, but now she seems like she's starting to figure things out.
Yeah, in her debut, because her workouts prior to her debut, she was an A- worker.
Yeah,
and she was well meant early, and she's been kind of taking her time to get there. I think she's slowly moving forward, and off that last effort, she's got my best number in tonight's fourth race.
That'll be a good look at race number 4. That is the closeout leg of the early pick 4. And don't forget, we got 10 races with trials for the Super Derby. You can catch Chris Wade's analysis race by race through the paddock, through the Los Alamitos live video show there, through the Los Alamitos website. You can get that action for free. And as always, Chris, thanks for your insight. Looking forward to this weekend, another jam-packed weekend of action at Los Al.
Jam-packed weekend, can't wait.
Now at Los Alamitos, it's weekends full of thrilling action.
Racing!
With live quarter horse and thoroughbred racing every Saturday and Sunday nights. More races on our weekend night, plus strong fields in our early and late pick 4s. And we're still adding $10,000 into our pick 6 pool when there's not a carryover going into the Sunday card. It's a great deal in our traditional pick 6. Don't miss a second of the thrilling action at Los Alamitos.
Racing!
Every Saturday and Sunday nights.
We're back to take a look at the Saturday night program here with track announcer Michael Wrona. Michael Wrona, we got the trials for the Super Derby on Saturday, and then we got the finals of the Los Alamitos Wild West Futurity on Sunday night.
Another great weekend coming up. I love the concept of the Wild West Futurity with so many different geographical form lines converging on Los Alamitos, and what a wonderful cast we have in the trials to the Super Derby on Saturday night.
Yeah, we have quality there on the trials for the Super Derby on Saturday night. There will be some heavy public choices because of the good quality in that field, but can't wait to see how those horses perform on this Saturday night. But before we dive into the trials, I'll tackle that part of the program with Orlando Gutierrez that are on tonight. I believe you got a selection for us before the trials as we look at the pick 6.
Yeah, I'm interested in the 5th race, specifically number 3, Lil Buddy. I liked that performance from the John Cooper trained horse on the 26th of September when he was bumped and drifted out early. He was number 5 Saddlecloth, but actually broke from the number 4 post position. When we get to take a look at this replay, you'll see him closing well after bumping at the start and drifting out in the early going.
Yeah, he's going to be in gate number 5. Yeah, saddle cloth number 5 here.
Yeah, one from the outside. And now, the winner of the race scores by a comfortable margin, but I like the fact that Lil Buddy closed well and beat the rest easily. He was a long way clear of the third horse, doing some nice work late. The closing split was 9.81. He's only 2 previous starts. He's had trouble at the break on both occasions. And I don't think we've seen anywhere close to what this horse can offer. He cost $32,000 at the Los Alamitos Equine sale last year. So he obviously was well thought of. And this is only his 4th career start. Now, the favourite, Jose, has the rail. Hitters up, a very consistent horse, 3 seconds and 3/3 from 8 starts, but has been burning some money and has to deal with the inside draw. So this is the type of horse I don't mind trying to take on and beat at a better price. My pick, Lil Buddy, is 7-2. There's other chances. It's quite a good race. I find it an interesting event. The 4 and the 5, Nuclear Core and Valiant Stevie B, can both improve in their second local starts. Each of them took some money making their first race at Los Alamitos last time out. And there's a $112,000 yearling coming out of gate 7 called Cool and Feisty, who has been uncompetitive in 4 starts at Ruidoso, all at very big odds, but 3 of those 4 races were futurity trials. And it's interesting that Eduardo Nicasio jumps off the number 4 horse, Nuclear Core, to ride this other Christopher Odell horse, Cool and Feisty, who makes his California debut. And there's a couple of first-time starters, each of them boasting a bullet drill. So I think there's some depth and interest to the race, but I just think Lil Buddy looks primed to put in a really strong effort, and 7-2 looks a square price to me.
Yeah, I did like the finish by Little Buddy, and you got to remember that eventual winner, Mr. Cosmopolitan, and our Broke Soul Shark from that inside post, and was a betting favorite, did everything so good. But I like the way Little Buddy ended up striding there, galloping out well in the final yards. And like you mentioned, he finished about 1.25 lengths clear of the rest, so he was by far second best in that group. All right, Michael, thanks again for the insight and the replay review. Race number 5, that is a good way to begin, hopefully, that pick 6. Michael, good luck with all your calls this weekend, and we'll see you out there at Los Al.
Thanks, mate. And, of course, the pick 6 will finish with a political patty, and everybody will be holding a collective breath as she's in the gate, wondering what sort of mood she'll be in and what she can produce when ultimately the race gets underway. It's never dull with that grey flash.
No,
she's something else.
Yeah, she's ultra talented. Let's just hope she behaves in the gate.
Racing fans, the traditional $2 pick 6 at Los Alamitos is always a great bet. On Sunday, August 1st, a one-night carryover of $14,000 led to an outstanding total pool of over $132,000. And the payouts are tremendous, highlighted by a season-high payout of over $94,000 on May 21st. And remember, on Sunday nights when there's not a carryover, Los Alamitos will add $10,000 to the pick 6 pool. Talk about some good old-fashioned pick 6 excitement at Los Alamitos. The traditional $2 pick 6. A great bet, a great deal. It's happening at Los Alamitos.
Welcome back to the program. Now joined by Orlando Gutierrez, Mr. Professor G. By the way, I don't know if I gave you props, but you gave us a 10-1 top pick winner. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
It was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
Cesar the Albatrini. Is that correct?
That's right. Burning Dream.
There you go. Burning Dream.
We talked about the horse a little bit here on the show. I remember how he said the horse was a spicy little one. Mm-hmm. And she certainly was hot and fired right out of the gate. It was a nice win, Jose. So, every once in a while we get a nice winner here for the racing fans.
Well, good to have you back here. Now, you brought us to a new area of Los Al. I'm very familiar with this area, but I do see that the paddock is right to your left, right?
That's right. Right behind me through those doors right there. You walk right through through those doors, and there's the paddock. I'm sitting just to the right of the escalators here at Los Al. So this would be the main level of the building, and just a few steps to my left, you go out to the main grandstand floor, the outside of the grandstand apron out there, and right in front of the finish line. So there's a nice walking area here for all the fans to kind of check out where they're gonna sit, pick their spots, and enjoy the races from there.
That's where a lot of the champion horses will make their way onto the track there at Los Al. And we have a guest today that has been involved with some champions throughout the years here at Los Al. Why don't you go ahead and introduce this gentleman, Orlando?
Absolutely. He's been in our winner circle area holding trophies after the Los Alamitos 2 million, the Champion of Champions, the Winter Championship, so many big races, the Millie Vessels as well. Recently, one of the horses that he manages, Reason to Fly MV, with a big victory at a nice price as well, won the Mildred Vessels, earning a berth to the Champion of Champions. And I'm talking about Vince Genco, who also happens to be the president of the Pacific Coast Quarter Horse Racing Association. So first of all, Vince, a very successful equine sale at Los Alamitos, the sale managed by the great staff of the PCQHRA, business manager Dino Perez, Debbie Trees, and also Marlene Sanchez, all doing great work for the PCQHRA, and of course you spearheading the organization as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, both of you. And it was a great sale, and Sunday was just spectacular. And I'm just happy for everybody that was involved, especially Dr. Allred, Dr. Burns, who put a lot into that sale, and they had their horses are the basis for it. They're the real core, and so we were very happy that they sold so well.
Absolutely. And you've always been part of the action there at the equine sale, starting a few years ago, buying a mare that was the sale topper at the sale. Take a look. And a few years later, we get Reason to Fly MV. If you could take us back maybe to that day when you purchased, along with Mr. Paulo Freire Macedo from Brazil. Take a look. That beautiful mare right there, bred by Dr. Ed Allred. There you are, Vince, with the cell topper that year.
Yeah, that's on the far left is Dr. Gustavo Carneiro, who is the advisor to Paulo in Brazil, and him and I do a lot of work together and try to help Paulo on both ends, Brazil and the United States. And Paulo's got some very good horses in Brazil, and he's got some very good horses up here, and he bought that mare. We topped the sale that year, $205,000. And I don't know, Doc, I know he was happy to get the money, but I know he really wanted the mare too, because he didn't think he would lose her, I don't think. And there's a picture of all three of us, Dr. Allred and Paulo and myself, at the sale that year.
So he didn't want to let it go. He was kind of bidding you up, Vince. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he would, he'll do that once in a while. But it's good. Johnny Samaya. I think all the really good breeders do that. It's hard to sell your good ones. Yeah. It really is.
Well, she certainly found a nice home with your team, and just tell us a little bit about the involvement that you have with all those great quarter horsemen from Brazil. We just keep hearing great news about the quarter horse breed and all those horsemen working so hard to continue to embellish the breed in Brazil.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job down there. They've got all of the really popular bloodlines. We also send a lot of frozen semen to Brazil, and from ranches like Lazy E and the 4-6s and Royal Vista in Oklahoma. We're sending down some really good semen down there, and then they own good stallions too, down there also. So it's really. I mean, I guess I've been involved down there for pretty close to 50 years now.
Wow.
And Bill Verdugo, of course, who was my mentor, he was involved before that. And so altogether, probably our company has been going down there for 65 years, and it started as bush tracks and match races, and just got better and better. And then they built Sorocaba, the good racetrack right there by Sao Paulo. All of the good breeders got together and they built that track, and that's the main track in South America now for quarter horse racing. I was telling Jose that AQHA is planning to do a South American racing conference down there next fall, probably. And I've been working on that a lot with Butch Wise. We've been trying to put that together, but this COVID thing really knocked us backwards, and it's really, those, if they can't come up here and go to the sales and stuff, it's kind of hard. I mean, it's not that they don't trust me to buy a good horse, but they just like to see the horse themselves, and so with the money problem, as far as, the conversion in Brazil right now, it's 5.5 to 1, and the COVID problem, it's been kind of slowed us down a little bit, but they'll come back when things get right. They'll be back. I mean, they love Los Alamitos.
That's why wins like Reason to Fly MV are so big, because that just continues that enthusiasm building up for the entire organization, because they can see that it can be done. They can be involved with a great mare like Reason to Fly MV and achieve some great success here, in the United States.
Yes, yeah, it's even though it's tough and it's expensive, as far as in Brazilian dollars, they have the bug. I mean, they love quarter horse racing and they love Los Alamitos.
Yeah, and I've seen that they've had some big futurities. They recently had some nice races out there. The Concengrao, I believe, that they held up there, and they have some outstanding sales. And we are always lucky to see, some of their top names that come here to the United States, whether it be to Albuquerque for the challenge races or here at Los Alamitos, going back to Dynastia Toll many years ago, right? She was one of the first big names from Brazil that came out here and started winning some big races, Grade 1 races.
Yeah, I think she won the Charger Bar twice, and she was quite a mare, and a lot of credit goes to Danny Cardoza, who was training her at that time, because she was a real quirky mare. She would, she'd run and then she wouldn't eat for 3 or 4 days. And so Danny found she just didn't like the racetrack. She didn't like confinement. So Danny figured out he'd take her back to Vessels. And then he'd work with her there, and she loved it at Vessels. She could be turned out, and then they'd haul her in the day before, and they'd run her, and then they'd haul her back to Vessels again. But Danny found Danny, and they had to put a groom with her in the trailer too to keep her calm. But he figured all that out, which he's, getting to know Danny as well as I did, being with John and Greedy for so long, it really, you learn so much from those guys, because they've been with it for their whole life.
And I mean, what an influential mare. FDD Dynasty was her son, and he's still producing some great horses, all-American caliber horses, Los Al 2 Million, Golden State Million type horses. So definitely an influential mare. And you got all those trophies behind you.
Look at all that hardware. Look at all that hardware. Look at that.
I've been very, very fortunate, because every time those guys win a trophy, they always say, get 2. I want you to have one also, And I was telling Jose, when we won the 2 million with Good Reason, Johnny Samaya told me to get 2 trophies. Well, it's that big glass trophy, real pretty. And I think they were $13,000 a piece, or something like that. And I told Johnny, I said, Johnny, we don't need to get 2 of those. You get 1, that's good enough.
Well, I think you have a Champion of Champions cup
right
there. Yeah.
Right over my shoulder. That's Good Reason. Yeah.
I'm gonna show you
here, right there. This is the halter from the All-American from No Secrets Here. They made a one-of-a-kind halter with the All-American in 2006 on it, I believe. Yeah. And so at the end of the deal, when it was all over, Scoop and Benny Rosette gave me that halter for taking care of the horse for him.
Well,
Benny Rosette, of course, the Brazilian owner of that campaign, part of that great team of No Secrets Here. What a top horse. He participated in all the big races as well.
Yeah, we were talking about Stylish Jess.
Stylish.
We sold her to Juliana and Juliana Holt, and then she produced a world champion, Flash and Roll, and then this year the full brother to Flash and Roll brought 800,000 at the All-American, And so it's just I've been very fortunate to be involved with a lot of good horses. I mean, it just every time you get in that winner's circle for a grade one, I always wanted, they got to run me out of there because you never know when you'll get back there again.
Speaking of pictures for grade ones, I'm gonna show you some pictures. Let me see if you can tell me the story behind it or where it was or what horse it was. But this one will be pretty easy.
Yeah, that's good reason coming back there, I think.
That's after the champion of champions.
Yeah,
championship. Yeah.
And and at the time, Ramon Sanchez was associated with good reason.
Yeah.
Can you share how you guys landed the young Eduardo Nicasio at that time?
Well, Eduardo, Ramon had a chance to ride either Good Reason or Favorite Cartel, and he rode Favorite Cartel. He took off Good Reason to ride Favorite Cartel, which is fine. And so we put Eduardo on and let him work Good Reason one morning there at the track it was about 3 weeks before the champion of champions. And when they came back from the work, I don't know whose eyes were bigger. It was either Good Reason or Eduardo, but both their eyes were pretty big. And Eduardo, first thing he says, I'll ride him. He says, I'll ride him. and the horse, he worked really well,
Yeah.
So we knew we had a chance with him.
Smart man, that Eduardo Nicasio.
Yeah, smart man. I've got this one.
That's the picture of the
Golden State Derby. Yeah.
I think the horse we beat was Prince Like for Dr. Allred's horse. Jose had him. Jose Flores had him. We were the only horse to win in the one hole that night, and the one was really it was real deep along the rail. And when he came back to the winner's circle, he stumbled, and he never stumbled. And Cody jumped off of him. And then the next day or two, Paul said all of a sudden he got a big kind of edema on his hind end, on his lower muscle of his kind of right above the gaskin, and he tore a muscle loose in his rear in his hind end, and so that's why he never ran in the Super Derby, because he hadn't healed up completely.
Yeah, I think you had to wait until the winter championship, that year to bring him back, and of course he won that race and earned the berth to the champion of champions from there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at his 2021 campaign, which was his champion of champion his last season. He started the year winning second in the winter championship trial. He won the winter championship, fifth in the Vessels Maturity trial, fourth in the Vessels Maturity final, fourth in the Go Man Go, fourth in the Robert Boniface Invitational, and then he came back to upset the field in the Grade 1 Champion of Champions at odds of 15-1. Did you have a bet on him that day, Vince?
I did.
Ooh, look at you! Look at you!
I bet him 100. I don't remember what his odds were, like 10 or 11-1 in the
program,
in the 2 million.
On the million.
Okay. And both times I bet him $100 across, and did pretty well with it, And we left a lot of tips up in the Vessels Club that night for sure.
That's right.
It's so much fun. That's one thing I learned from John Andrini. When you win, everybody has to win around you, And so it was great because it was right before Christmas, and both times it was right before Christmas. And
yes.
All those guys, we they took care of us all year, so we got to take care of them for Christmas. And they never forget that. Those guys, there's just some great people to work at Los Alamitos.
That is awesome. So talking about this weekend at hand, we got Reason to Fly and Be, big, long striding late kick type of horse. We got some photos here. This one's winning the Millie Vessels with big strides there late. You drew the one post there on the inside of that talented Apolitical Patty. So the one post, you're gonna have to break sharper there.
Yeah, that's really the filly doesn't break really good, but she's got a big kick on the end, and I just being against the rail, it's kind of not the place to be, I don't think, but the good ones always find a way to win. That's the way I feel. You know, that no matter where you put them or where they're at or who they're with, they always find a way to win. And so we'll see what happens. But I just hope we get a clean run, and I think she can be competitive.
And I mean, you drew right next to Apolitical Patty and the Millie Vessels, and Apolitical Patty broke ahead of everybody. She was, pretty far ahead, and you got her down at the very end. So, you do move up to the inside, but like you mentioned, the good horses, if they're ready that night, they're going to get to the wire first, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it brings to mind a horse called Strength in Numbers. I think you remember her.
Yeah.
And Cody was on her one night, and she got pinballed and shut off completely, and came back and won the race and ran a 96 speed index, 400-yard race. And Cody said, I've never been fouled that bad and won a race. And I said, well, that's good. I said, she can run, So.
What's it like for you to see the name of Good Reason SA, on the breeding line of great horses like this?
Yeah. Well, we raised the horse. We had, we still have Queen of Appeals at the ranch. Paulo Macedo bought Queen of Appeals from Johnny Samaya's estate, and we've had her here the whole time. She's she's 96 model, so she's 25 years old or something like that. And she's still in good shape. She's a beautiful mare still, and it's like your kids going to play ball or something like that. You feel so good when they do good, and it's hard to explain, but it's just, when you give them all the care and everything, get them to a yearling, and then turn them over to the trainers and let them train them and stuff. It's a certain feeling that it's hard to explain, but you feel so good.
And it's got to be pretty special to see for Mr. Paulo Macedo to be a complete homebred. He traced it back to take a look. He partnered it up with Good Reason. Not only is it important to win any kind of graded stakes events, but to be a homebred, that just has to elevate the pride even more to be able to be, to experience and enjoy these kind of wins even more.
Oh, for sure.
Did you talk to him the night that she won the Millie Vessels? How quickly after the race did you speak to Mr. Macedo?
Well, usually I text them right after the race, but they're up watching. But I'll talk to Dr. Paulo doesn't speak English very well. He does a little bit, but not very well. But Dr. Gustavo, he went to UC Davis for a while, and he speaks English very well. So I do most of my communication through Dr. Gustavo, because my Portuguese is about as good as my Spanish, which is neither one of them are any good. I know just enough to get in trouble. So anyway, but no, I talked to Gustavo right after the race. They were just really excited, and it's it's always, when you win a grade one at Los Alamitos, it's pretty special.
And Vince, this race, the winner of the Los Alamitos Super Derby, earns a berth to the Champion of Champions. You are already in the Champion of Champions with Reason to Fly MV, after she became only the third sophomore to win the Millie Vessels in about 15 years. So, you're going to be back in the Champion of Champions with a chance to maybe add another cup, somewhere behind you, where you can put it somewhere behind you. It's going to be a pretty special end of the year, isn't it?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. And I just wish those guys could be up here. It sounds like they're going to kind of loosen up the travel thing a little bit, but I just wish they could be up here, because it's just so exciting when you win those big races.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Vince. You're gonna have to maybe add another cabinet to your right side to put more hardware right there, because
I've got a stack of pictures. Every time we won a grade one, I got one of those big pictures. Well, I ran out of wall space. So now I got all those pictures stacked up over here. I got to find a place to put them. So
that's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem.
It is a good problem to have. Very good problem.
Let's hope you keep having that problem in the future. That will be fun.
It's been kind of dry for a while, but it seemed like there at the beginning, everything we took to the track was running, and then it got a little dry, but we're coming back.
Well, the way Reason to Fly and B is finishing strong in the end of the races, you got to be feeling pretty good that she's going to get the extra 40 yards in the Champion of Champions.
Yeah, I think that'll really make a difference for her. I really do. She'll like it.
All right. Well, thanks you so much for joining us again, and thank you for showing off some of that hardware there and going down memory lane. And best of luck this weekend with Reason to Fly and Be.
Thank you both very much, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks,
Thank you, Vince.
Racing fans, the traditional $2 pick six at Los Alamitos is always a great bet. On Sunday, August 1st, a one-night carryover of $14,000 led to an outstanding total pool of over $132,000. And the payouts are tremendous, highlighted by a season-high payout of over $94,000 on May 21st. And remember, on Sunday nights when there's not a carryover, Los Alamitos will add $10,000 to the pick six pool. Talk about some good old-fashioned pick six excitement at Los Alamitos. The traditional $2 pick six, a great bet, a great deal. It's happening at Los Alamitos.
Well, that was fun to catch up with Mr. Vince Genco there, catching up with some of the horses from the past. He's got a nice trophy collection behind him, Orlando. He might be on his way to adding a few more here in the coming weeks. But speaking of the Pick Six commercial that just aired right now, right before we came back on, the Pick Six has been getting plenty of good support by the bettors. And on Saturday night, 5 of the 6 races in that Pick Six sequence are trials for the Super Derby.
Yeah, 37 horses will be going in the Super Derby trials, and what a star-studded group. We're talking about so many Grade 1 winners, so many graded stakes winners, and every trial is just, pretty strong throughout. The opening trial, though, is a monster of a race, just a super lineup in that one. And like you mentioned, Jose, 5 out of the 6 races in the Pick Six will be trials, so that means that the entire Pick 4 sequence on Saturday night will feature trials as well, and some really strong fields of quarter horse racing action. So looking forward to that night.
And Mike Wrona gave us a pick for the 5th event, which is the first leg of the Pick Six. But we're going to tackle here the entire 5 trials of the evening, the last 5 races on the card. And to help us look at these races, we'll have a familiar face to us. That is George Duarte, the Equibase shark caller here at Los Alamitos. George, welcome to the program. Fun to have you on board. Before we kind of get going to the trials, did you guys end up having a Dolphins Raiders bet? I never got to the bottom of it. Was there a bet?
I don't think we had anything officially. I don't know if we like any of either one of our teams right now. Personally. We're in shambles, both of us.
Yeah, I know. I definitely am pretty down on the Dolphins this year. I have two jerseys. I don't know if I'll ever wear one again. So.
Yeah,
one for each win they might get this year.
Yeah, that is true. They started so high, Orlando. Like you were riding high, and then it's just like it's like crashing down now.
I bought the hype, Jose.
You bought the Kool-Aid. But George, introduce yourself. You've now been the Equibase shark color here at Los Al since Curtis switched over to the daytime circuit. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I've been going to track since I was a little kid. I've been the trackman for a year. I like it. I've always done trip notes. Especially quarter horse. I feel that's if you're going to spend time on replays, I feel quarter horse is better because you're not going to spend as much compared to thoroughbreds where you got to do a minute and a half races. In a minute and a half, you can watch 4 or 5 replays of the same race and you get a lot more info. And I think a lot of people don't think replays matter as much in quarter horse because you're only going straight or it's random and, anything can happen in 400 yards when if you're really into the game, that 300 yards and 400 yards is a completely different race. Horses that are good at 300 not necessarily can be anywhere at 400. So what those replays let you know and give you that edge that you need.
What part of the race do you think is the most important when you're watching that replay? Is it the way they're closing or just the way they're breaking out of the gate?
If it's like, say for like 2-year-olds, I like to see how they do once they're at top speed. See if are they gaining, are they losing ground, to kind of know where they're at. Because I feel like they don't improve that much in getting their top speed up. It's just how quick they can get to that top speed. As they age, they get faster and quicker. But it's that I want to see what ability they have. I like to see the gallop out. I like to see them once they're top speed. Who are they next to? Are they gaining ground on them? If they are, who's this horse? And try to see are they any good? So you say, okay, this horse was good who had trouble, but he was gaining on them. So if they were both clean, you can get that sneaky form off those kind of replay watching.
Is post position something that you kind of look into it? I know in thoroughbred racing, a lot of people might or might not think it factors in, but in quarter horse racing. What do you think about it?
Well, there's going to be a trial coming up, and I think it's like the third or fourth trial where it's going to matter a lot. And yeah, I think it matters a lot. I think it's just like a trip handicapping and thoroughbred. Same thing with post handicapping. If you have a horse that likes to come in or come out, and you're on the outside or the inside, you're going to be affected. Or a horse that some that don't like running in between finally get the outside. That's a big improvement. Even though they're just running straight, it's different. Having horses right beside you versus, you have your clear path that you feel comfortable. There's some that you can see that they get uncomfortable. Yeah. Even some riders get uncomfortable being really in tight quarters going that fast.
And I made the case, well, a little bit of side note behind the scenes here. We had you on 2 weeks ago, but the video was, I'll blame it on Professor G. It was his fault, but we lost the video. But are you guys going to give me credit for that horse that I said I didn't think he liked in between horses? I think switching, even though he was on the far outside, I think he'll be more comfortable. And I think it was a Paul Jones horse. Was it a Paul Jones horse? I forget. But it was a horse that had just been beaten by those runners. But I factored in the post position. I thought he might run a little bit better, and he ended up winning. Oh, it was Guillermo Suarez picking up the mount, I think, if I remember correctly. I forget the name of the horse. But I'm with you. I'm in that camp, George, where I think post position matters a lot in quarter horse racing, especially when you can see that some horses don't really want to run as best when they're in between horses there. So that's always that I like to look at. So it's good to see that you kind of agree with that statement with the those kind of angles in quarter horse racing. I love watching replays in quarter horse racing. I think it gives you a lot of edge if you really pay attention to the little stuff as well. Professor G, you ready to go for these trials?
Let's do it because the first trial is just super, super loaded. I'll just give you some of the horses in this trial. We got Counting the Ways coming off of a third place finish in the Governor's Cup Derby. Dreamland Express, who's qualified to quite a few. Just Linda's Reason, who ran in the All-American Oaks, Constituent, Monopolist. We know they're both futurity winners from last year. E.G. Domingo has also qualified to some derbies, Flashback, winner of the Winter Derby, and Fallout, who ran third in the Heritage Place Derby. I mean, every single one of these horses has, some type of credential, some of them bigger than others. Where do we start talking in this race, George? Who do you think is the one horse that we got to kind of focus on first?
Well, first of all, you guys did no favors for Monopolist. He decides to skip the PCQHRA and then just gets loaded basically into almost a final.
Yes.
7 out of the 8 horses here, if you would have talked to those connections, they would say they expect to qualify. They get a clean trip. They think they're in. So this race is, I guess you can look at one way or the other. You can look at it as like, well, if I run good and I win, I know I'm in. I don't have to worry because I'm already facing basically everybody who thinks they're going to be in the final. But yeah, you have to go with Monopolist. He's just his numbers, the way he's consistently in the 60s. In the 1960s, so he is the horse to beat, but he can't make any mistakes. He can't break slow like he has in other races. He has to break clean. He can't get bumped around. He's not going to be able to run down these horses.
I'm going to load up the replay, guys, right here. This is the Governor's Cup Derby. So Monopolist was a favorite, but he ended up missing by a nose. But I want to show the replay because Counting the Ways was in the same race. Counting the Ways draws the one post here tonight, and he had the one post that night as well. You have cameras that help you out with the chart calls, George. I know you had Counting the Ways there up ahead at both times. Even watching the replay, I thought he might have just enough to win that night, but he got caught in the final strides.
Yeah, when he broke well and he was on top. I thought, oh, they're not going to catch him. I thought he was gone when I saw that he was in the lead early.
Yeah, he breaks so well from the inside post, and at the gap. Right here, it looks like, all right, I don't think they're going to catch him.
Yeah, it's who do you think's running second? Basically, either the 9 or the 3.
Here comes Monopolist, the 3 horse, and the outside was Favorite Colossus, and they end up catching him at the final strides. So, Orlando, watching that race, Monopolist is going to, he has that other Derby trial that looks like jumps off the page. Is Counting the Ways that far behind Monopolist? In off of their form, or do you think it's much closer?
Well, I think George hit it right on the spot. It's all a matter of how, if Monopolist is able to get a good start, because in that Governor's Cup Derby, I mean, he breaks fifth, and he has a lot of work to do really early on in the race just to kind of get close to counting the ways. We saw counting the ways drifted out a little bit there, and George mentions it there in the comment. But Monopolis ends up out finishing this horse. So counting the ways is back in the rail. Is he going to kind of shy away from that gap again? Will Monopolis just be able to break a little bit better than fifth in this race? I think he will, especially coming off of a huge race. And Jimmy Glenn Jr. has just been saying how this horse is improving in the way that he's worked. I mean, the way that the horse has been breaking out of the gate.
Yeah.
2 out of his last 3 starts, he's just been super out of the gate. So I expect him to do it again.
Yeah, I think he's getting better out of the gate, but he's got a good gate horse on the inside of him, and that's constituent for the hot barn of Valentin Zamudio, who ended up winning the Governor's Cup last year. He came back with a sharp win last time out, and that might be a very good prep. But this trial is absolutely stacked. Like you mentioned, George, 5, 6, 7 of these runners kind of are expected to be in the finals. And we talked about flashback a little bit, Orlando. You were able to catch up with Jaime Gomez, that's correct?
Yeah, we talked to Jaime on Thursday morning, because Jaime's got some really nice horses going into these trials. He's got Flashback returning from Ruidoso Downs. He gave us some pretty good insight on the horse and his season at Ruidoso. Then in race 8, he's got Doc's Lamb also coming back after being off for quite some time. He hasn't run in since the Winter Derby. And J Best Boogie, talks about J Best Boogie coming off a pretty flat race. And he pretty much knows what happened to J Best Boogie in that race. So let's go and see what Jaime Gomez had to say about his runners in these trials. And we're here with trainer Jaime Gomez, one of the most successful trainers of all time here at Los Alamitos, and the Super Derby coming up this weekend. Jaime, you have 3 really solid stars in these trials. Flashback, let's begin with this horse that ran at Ruidoso Downs, returns to Los Alamitos.
That horse going sick a little bit to Ruidoso, and the horse lose some weight, and I don't think he was ready for the Rainbow. But they ran it because the horse looked good. But I think if they wait for the All-American, he could have run better. He don't make it for both, but he ran good in the consolation. He ran really good. He come back here after a couple of days after. He been here like a month and a half, and that horse don't got a bad day. He's doing good, better and better and better all the time. He drew a good position, and I expect a really good race from the horse.
In race number 8, you have Doc Lamb, a horse that qualified for the $2 million last year, running the Winter Derby. You're giving the horse some time off. We haven't seen him since the Winter Derby, but it's coming off some nice workouts.
That horse is really nice. I wish I can draw another number, but you got to run where you draw. Everything is legal and everything is nice. We won in some big races before from the one horse, so yeah. I hope we get a good
outing for Doc Lamb. J Best Boogie wraps up your contenders for the Super Derby. She's in race number 10. Looks super good. First out of the season in the Tammy Purcell. Tougher race in the Millie Vessels.
Well, that wasn't tough. She was sick next day I ran her.
Okay.
She have a little infection or something, and in the body, and she don't eat for a few days after the race, and she just bounced back, and she's doing really good. So I expect a good race for her.
We always expect great things from the barn of Jaime Gomez. You have so many big stars here in the stable. Looking forward to a big night Saturday. Thanks, Jaime.
Thank you, Orlando. I hope we have a good race from God. Thank you.
All right, that was Jaime Gomez, Orlando, catching up with Jaime. He's always one of the mainstays in these type of finals events. He's got 3 legitimate, high-quality runners in that spot. But right off the bat, he's going to kick it off with Flashback in that stacked trial in the race number 6.
I want to ask George a question. George, you follow the racing action at Remington Park really closely. So we got a horse here, Fallout, on the outside post that ran in the Heritage Place Derby, $361,000 race. I know you watched that race. What do you think of this horse coming here to Los Alamitos, facing the top runners here at Los Al, especially in this field, because it is some of our best sophomores out here.
At first, I remember his his debut. I was wondering why it took so long to start, and then once you see him run, you understand why. He's just really goofy. He's still learning. He's still, he still makes mistakes. He's still out there. He needs to learn how to get into stride quicker. And that work on the September 20th, if you look at it, he doesn't even look like he's trying. No. He's just out there just playing, basically. It looks out there. So he still needs to he needs to focus. He has the ability. His final 200 yards is just as good as anybody in this entire 37 horses. It's just whether his head's in the game. Last time he just lugged in and hit the rail, and now he has the outside. Mm-hmm. He could lug out too. So that's if he has his head on right, I think he has a chance to qualify. But against these seasoned professionals that don't make mistakes, it's going to be hard for him to win. He can, I think, with clean trip, if he keeps his mind on racing, he'll qualify. But I don't know if he can beat these. He still needs to grow up.
And I watched the replay. He actually ended up on the inside of the gate starter. The gate starter ended up on the outside of him because he veered in so sharply. The gate starter jumped to the left of him, and then he hit the rail and lost the rider there.
I thought he was going to get caught by the cable.
Yeah, it was that severe. So we'll see how he does here, drawing the outside post in the first trial. Second trial, we talked to Vince Orlando, Reason to Fly in B. But is this the race you kind of were talking about, post position battering, or George?
Yeah, because you got the fastest horse in the entire trials outside of her that likes to lug in.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't want to be inside of her. but last time she ran from the inside with the rail, that was her probably her worst effort that she's ever had. So maybe she's not going to lug in as much, and maybe she just doesn't have. Maybe she needs that lug in to go fast. I don't know. It's just. She's interesting. She's been a handful these last two starts.
So you might be anticipating that she might kind of lug in like she's done in the past, and that kind of blocks Reason to Fly's path from that point on.
Yeah, because even if she breaks good, she's not as fast, and she's either going to get bumped or going to have to alter out, and that's hard because you got other horses that are just as fast, like a Sign of Good Candy and a Dangerous Flash, that there's not going to be a wide open lane once you get around. And that's like another thing with the trip. She's going to need a lot of luck from the rail to have a clean trip, or hope Patty just flies out, gets in front, and just I can't use her in the top spot, like in a pick 4, pick 5s, pick 6s. I can't use Reason to Fly. I would need too much things to go right for her with that post. You would need either Patty to go break slow, which she has, or fly out far enough in front where I can go around her smoothly, which is not the easiest thing to do in a quarter horse race.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I talked to Monty Arosa on Thursday morning as well, and he mentioned that after what a Political Patty has done, he decided to try something differently. So recently, he brought a Political Patty at night to school her. So they brought her in, they took her to the receiving barn, just like they would have if it was race day. And she started getting pretty worked up. She got hot. She was thinking, okay, I'm racing tonight. Mm-hmm. And they took her to the paddock, to the saddling paddock, just schooled her there. They took her to on the track to school in the gate. The gate was set up at 300 yards. They kind of took her in. Armando Cervantes was on her. And, they kind of put a little bit of pressure on her, just schooling her. Then they took her out. The race ran at 300 yards. They took her to back to her barn. Monty's barn is not too far away from the 550-yard area of the track. So after that race happened, they moved the gate back closer to a Political Patty's area there, and she schooled again. So they schooled her twice at night just to try to get her, used to the night, just doing it at night, because she always schools well during the daytime, in the mornings. That's not the problem. But something's been happening to her at night, so they went ahead and they practiced and trying to get whatever those kinks are just out of her, trying to get her to come back smooth for this huge race. He mentioned this is the race, the Los Alamitos Oaks in this race the races that we've been waiting for the entire year. This is why she's still racing after being purchased by Juliana Holt. So this is huge, for Apolitical Patty. They're trying to make sure they got everything ironed out as much as possible.
So, George, hypothetically, if she acts up, if she does her thing again, and she doesn't fire her best effort, who's the most likely winner in this race? Do you think Reason to Fly finishes better? Or do you think a horse like a Dangerous Flash, the Ruidoso Invader, comes back strong?
I would think a Dangerous Flash, you can even argue, might even be better than her. It could be. We don't know yet. He hasn't ran here. I don't think she even ran in the nighttime. Yeah. But that's who I would say is the second best horse. But if I had to if I had to spread in a pick 3, or I want to take a long shot, I kind of like SC Divas Cartel Man I think I know what I'm going to get out of his trip, if the 4 doesn't like the nighttime, which if you saw the trials from last week, there was a lot of horses that were affected by the lights first time. So if he could be a horse that's affected, and then Patty acts up and lugs in, and the one in her get tangled.
Yeah.
The 5's going to get that clean trip on the outside. And that's who I would try to upset them with. I would the Odell, the 4, I would use, but I look at it as if Patty's going to run a race, she's probably winning.
Yep.
So if I'm using him and her, I'm using the 2 favorites. Yeah. So I'm either going to probably go with Patty, or I'm going to take a shot with SC Divas Cartel Man.
And as far as the number 4,
what was that?
As far as the number 4, a Dangerous Flash, you can certainly say that running in 5th in the All-American Gold Cup would be more impressive than if he had run in the All-American Derby, just because of the quality of that group and the All-American Gold Cup. I mean, he wasn't that far away from Powerful Favorite, who just won the Robert Boniface Los Alamitos Championship.
Yeah, they must be really high on him to willing to face older when they didn't have to. They already knew they're going to be facing the best of the best out there in that race, and they chose it because they had bad luck in the trial for the All-American Derby. They went right back against the big dogs, so they obviously have high hopes for this horse. But it's first time at night, and then after last week, a lot of horses just did not like the nighttime. So I'm willing to take a stand against them.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same thing. I think either Apolitical Patty is the winner, you single her, or then try to beat her by not using her. Use a few others instead of doubling up with others. But if she runs her B race and behaves somewhat, she should win this race. But obviously, we're still waiting on what Dangerous Flash is going to do first time under the lights here at Los Al. Race number 8. This is the final pick 3 of the night. You talked to Jaime Gomez in that video, Orlando. Doc Lamb is another of his contenders. This is a horse that we kind of immediately put down as a horse to watch because of his debut win in 1537. So he showed ability as a 2-year-old, but he's been lightly raced since then, and he hasn't really fired up to that potential. Do you think he's coming back into a top form here tonight?
Well, Jaime certainly thinks so. He feels that the horse is really fit after having those 3 workouts here at Los Al. And like you mentioned, he's been running against the top horses, qualified to the Los Al 2 Million, qualified to the Los Alamitos Winter Derby, has had surgery since the Winter Derby. But those works that Jaime has given him have given the trainer, confidence that the horse is ready for this race. Post number 1 is a spot where he's never worked from or raced from, so that'll be pretty interesting. George, what do you think?
Initially when I first saw it, I liked Favorite Doc on the 6th post.
Yeah, I
think that trial for the Golden State, he was just so monster, and then he had that kind of a dud, but usually that's not surprising. When they run so huge, they usually bounce. Comes back at Ruidoso, and I think he's ran really good. Like, I bet him last time in the All-American Derby, I thought he was going to hit the board, mainly because he had the outside post, but I thought, if he's hanging with those, I think with a clean trip, he's going to be hard to beat. Favorite Doc, was it Doc?
Colossus.
Yeah, Doc Lamb. It's hard you haven't ran since February to ask for 400 yards just off of work. I can't see him finding his best shot compared to Favorite Doc, who's this is gonna be his 4th start off the layoff. he looks like he keeps on improving. He made that step from 2 to 3. And favorite Colossus, he seems more like a finals horse than a trial horse. He likes to run when it's the big money, not the trials. He seems that's when if you see how much he improves from a trial to a final, he improves like a length and a half.
What about the fact that those two huge races have been from the outside post where he's caught the other horses?
Yeah.
Especially that last Governor's Cup Derby race. So I don't know if maybe, he can see the horses that he's running a little bit better from that outside post, and he makes those big, huge runs. But when he's from the inside, he hasn't fired as strongly.
Yeah, it could be the outside post. It could be that he just needs a clean trip more than the outside. But he's improved a lot. Like Diablo's horses, they keep improving. They keep making an incremental race by race. So, you could say it was the outside, but I think he's just gotten better. Like at first, I wasn't really high on him as a 2-year-old, but then this last year, he finishes strong. He broke really good last time. I was really impressed by his race last time. I think he likes that race in between. He likes that race to get into the, he needs that. I feel like I wish they would have gave him a start in September, so he's not, so fresh coming into this. Because I feel he fires best, within like a 3-week to a month period.
Well, from favorite Colossus, like you said that you weren't that high on him early. I thought before he made his first career start, one of those workouts that he had was one of the best that I saw from any horse prior to their debut race here at Los Alamitos. So I was the opposite of you. I really liked the horse. Took him a while to get going. For a while, I was like, oh, man, maybe I saw something that just wasn't there on the horse. Yeah. Just took him a little while to develop. But like you said, Cesar D'Alba, works really hard with his horses, and they improve.
We know he can finish. We know he's going to be finishing there. But I'm kind of in agreement that I think at this point, favorite Doc has proven he can break fast. He can break better. And being he's drawn in gate 6, he's probably the best positioned horse in this race. Did you guys think A Dash of Sign could step up at all?
I bet her last time. I thought she was gonna. Personally, I bet her to win last time. But I think her. If you watch the replay, she keeps like trying to lug in a little. And I think Roman was more concerned about drifting in and lugging in, that he didn't really set her down. And I feel like she can improve. She's one of the few that the outside I think was bad for her. I think she was better off in between because her 2 starts prior to that were really good. Like when against J-Best Boogie, she ran well, and then that 330 race, she ran really good. So I think she can hit the board if Doc Lamb isn't up to task.
I remember that race 3 starts ago because in the next race in the handicap, I thought she was an absolute easy horse without a doubt, because J-Best Boogie had not raced in a lengthy layoff, and J-Best Boogie ran the race of her life that night. To go 17:48 Orlando. I remember that night because I went up to the press box. I was like, can you believe J-Best Boogie ran 17:48 to beat me with A Dash of Sand that night? She was absolutely giant in that race on July 24th.
Yeah, and even when she ran second to Jet Wings 1, that horse is super sharp. I don't think that horse had finished worse than second in any of those races. So, she certainly has shown signs that she can run big races. It's just a matter of when you have all these big horses together, can A Dash of Sign be the one that comes out on top?
Yeah, that's going to be a fun race number 8, the third division of the Super Derby. All right, going to race number 9. This one will have the standout of Apolitical Gold. Apolitical Gold, the winner of the Golden State Million last year. George, I know you watched a few of these races from Ruidoso this season. What did you think of his 2 starts at Ruidoso this summer back on July and August?
I think they were respectable. I didn't think that, I think maybe he just hasn't made that bigger jump up like a lot of these other 3-year-olds where they make that big step from 2 to 3. I think he's just gotten a little bit better, about the same as last year. But I mean, what he did last year was good enough for me personally. Like if that was my horse and that's where he plateaus, I'll take that all day. But in the Derby, I think in this race, he caught a good trial for him. I don't think it's that deep compared to the others. So I think he'll win his trial, but I can't see him as a contender to win the final. The one horse I kind of was interested in was on the Alamon horse, Corona's Big Flash. I really liked him last year.
Yep.
And I thought he would do good in Ruidoso, but he kind of disappointed. Maybe it was the altitude, maybe, the change of trainer. Now he's back home with his, original trainer. I think he's one that if he beats him, I think that's the one that I would try to beat him with.
And Jose, I talked to Eddie Willis in the morning as well. And, he also said that Apolitical Gold likes Los Alamitos better than Ruidoso, just for whatever reason that is. He just thinks that, he really comes into his own here at Los Alamitos. But here's the full interview with Eddie Willis.
We're here with AQHA champion trainer Eddie Willis. Eddie, the trials to the Los Alamitos Super Derby this Saturday, Apolitical Gold. He likes this time of the year here at Los Alamitos. How is he doing coming into the Derby trials?
Well, I think he's doing really good. He's, I don't know, he's training real good here, so I look for him to run a good race.
You already gave him a nice little workout here a few Sundays ago. What did he show you in that work?
Well, I wasn't here, but they said he worked good.
Your son was?
Yeah, my son was here. He said he worked really good, yes, so he'll be all right.
Tell me about his season. I know he's always finished in the top 3 except one race in the over there in Remington Park. Other than that, he's just been outstanding. What happened in that one?
I don't know. I mean, he just kind of had one of them bad days. He just didn't fire that day, and but he, usually he's going to run you a good race. I think he's going to run good here because he's really training good,
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing him back at Political Gold. Thank you, Eddie.
You bet.
There it is, Orlando. So that might be a factor. Maybe he just prefers Los Alamitos a lot better. Obviously, this is where he saw his most important win of his career. So maybe getting back to the lights of Los Al is where he's going to run his best effort.
Yeah, he just really likes the way the horse is training, coming in. Jimmy Dean Brooks was gonna ride him. He rode him in the trials to the Golden State Million Futurity, won, and then Justine Kleiber got on him and won again. So the horse has done extremely well here at Los Al. Let's see if he can keep on rolling.
Yeah, if there's anyone that can beat him, I'm probably going to play around with Corona's Big Flash. I bet him when he won his maiden diploma at 5-1. I even bet him at Ruidoso. Actually, he sent out a tweet when he was because I had an alert on him when he showed up at Ruidoso, but he just didn't fire, George. Maybe he just not stepping up to that 3-year-old level. Maybe he didn't like Ruidoso, but I thought this was one of the better 2-year-olds Alemán had last season here. So I'm still hopeful that there might be some improvement for him coming back to Los Al. But I kind of wanted to see a little bit bigger morning line than that 4-1.
I think Tuck on the outside, just because he's been here at Los Al, kind of has settled in, has run some decent races. I think he might be he's my second choice. I think he might be the horse that might kind of get the job done from that outside post against Apolitical Gold if Apolitical Gold doesn't run his race.
And I was looking, so Flaming Flash, who was trained by Juan Aleman, isn't Flaming Flash the same dam of the other runner in the first trial? Let me check. Yeah, Dangerous Flash. So Dangerous Flash is a half to this one, I believe. Yeah, a half to Corona's Big Flash. So we have half siblings there in the first and fourth division of tonight's trials. All right, there's 2 races left. You know what time it is. Late double here in races 10 and 11. Squidward draws the inside post, but this trial will probably have to go through the likes of J Best Boogie Orlando for Jaime Gomez. Actually, did I skip a race? No, I'm going over. So the late double was in race 9. I'm kind of thinking about last weekend's card. But this trial, we have J Best Boogie. This is probably the other more wide open trial, kind of compared to the first one, right?
Yeah, even though Jaime Gomez feels pretty confident after, like he mentioned in the interview, she was sick the day after the Millie Vessel. So, he knew something was wrong with her, and the next day she got a little bit sick on him. So because Jaime was pretty surprised the way she ran in Millie Vessels, finishing last in that group. And she says ever since, recently she's been doing really well. So he believes he's back to top form. He's pretty confident on how she'll come back and run here on Saturday night.
George, who did you end up liking in this race?
I really like Teller with Candy. I really like that race against Constituent. that was a prep, and for both of them it was a prep.
Yes.
They were ready for their prep for this race, and I thought he ran really, really good. I think he's made that step from 2 to 3, and I think all systems go for this race. And he gets the outside, gets good post, and there's question marks on the inside with Jay's best boogie. She just ran, she broke slow, but then if you see her after that, she wasn't full of run, trying to make up ground. So I'm against her, and I was against the other one. So that's who I like. I think with the outside post, Ayala, Lindolfo have that long history together. I know Ayala's going to really want to get this horse into the final. So that's my pick. Second off the layoff, I think he's going to run huge.
I went back to look at that 400-yard win on November 14th to kind of see how she handled the distance that day. He handled the distance that day. He looked strong and he looked very confident. He broke fast. He did lug out from the inside, kind of towards the middle, but he still finished with the final 8 in 9.65. So he might be able to just break well from the outside post and keep on going. And Ayala is probably one of his better mounts all night. So he's probably going to be very good, very happy that they drew the outside. What about Squidward? What about Carl Strauss, Professor G?
Well, you mentioned how Flame and Flash has 2 runners in these trials. What about Tomahawk? She's got Squidward and Constituent. Those 2 horses finished first and second, separated by a nose in the Governor's Cup Futurity last year. And I really like Squidward. I actually picked this horse to win last race after coming from Remington Park. One as the favorite. But did it pretty handily here. Mm-hmm. And, I think he has a pretty good chance in this race. He's my second choice in race 10.
What I like about that win, Orlando, was that he was coming off from bad efforts. So it's not like he had to fire a big effort, but he got the job done with the fast time in 50:47. So I think that for Zamudio to have him ready off the layoff to win with that kind of clocking kind of tells us that he's ready to go and he's ultra sharp. Carl Strauss was one of those runners that I did not like at all last year in those trials, George, when he upset the field at 11-1. Back then, I believe I liked Tuck that night. So I wasn't really happy that Carl Strauss beat me that night. But what have you seen from him since then down the road?
Me and Carl don't get along.
Me neither.
He got me in that race too. I think I was spread pretty deep and did not use him. I think it was with Leon on the outside. He just that was tough. But he has made that jump from 2 to 3 that I've been mentioning a lot. I thought he's been running good under Monty and he has he's out of that great mare Babe on the Fly. So, but I don't think he's. I think he's good. He's one of those that is going to be always have a chance to qualify for these big races. But I just don't think he's in the same tier as the top runners. I think he's just right below them. So that's why I was going to take a shot against him. The same with Squidward. I'm not sold. He wants 400 yards. I know it's dangerous to play against Zamudio, especially right now. He's been on a tear. So, I'm not really worried about them. They beat Teller with Candy. I think the only way they beat him is if he makes a mistake, personally.
Yeah. To me, remember last time out in the Millie Vessels, I was all in on Jabez Boogie because I thought she's drawn on the inside of Apolitical Patty. If Apolitical Patty acts up, she's going to break. Hopefully she gets a clean start. Obviously, it was a bad start. I actually like that Jaime Gomez said that she got sick on him. So that tells me why she ran such a flat effort. So this is one of those races where, since I singled her and I liked her last time out against Apolitical Patty, I have to take her again. I can't not take her this time around against this group. So for me,
you're going to get a price. She's not going to be the favorite, so you're still going to get value, I feel.
So this is one of those races where, just on principle, if my opinion was that she could have beat Apolitical Patty, then I have to take her tonight. I can't let her beat me, and especially when I'm probably going to get just as good of a price as that night in that evening. The horse that I don't really know what to make of is Right on Time. What is your opinion on Right on Time on those 2 back-to-back wins in June and August?
Yeah, that was one I was thinking of, could this be a long shot? Because at first I always thought this horse just wanted 350 or 300. I didn't really think it was somebody that won 400 yards, and she's only ran it once, but she ran okay. Only being a length and a half to a reason to fly and kiss through fire. So I think she still needs a lot. She needs to improve it some more, but she surprised me. I didn't think she was as good, but I think she actually has a shot to. I don't think she has a shot to hit, to win this race, but I think her coming second or third wouldn't surprise me.
And she's done it, with different barns. She was good with Christopher Odell. She was good with Gomez. Now she's good with Paul Jones. So she's rattled off some good form, but yeah, I'm not sure she's up to the task against a few of these runners. So you'll go with Taylor Candy on the outside. I'll go with Jay Best Boogie there in gate number 5. That's a look of those Super Derby trials for this the weekend. We lost Professor G. I think he ran out of power. He probably plugged in his computer or something along. But we got to go through these trials. Since these are part of the pick six sequence, who would be the most likely single in the pick six for you? Was it Apolitical Patty? Do you think she behaves and breaks well?
I would single Taylor Candy, me personally, because that's the horse I like the most, and I feel it's not going to be anybody's single. Like if anybody's looking through this, that's not the one they're going to single.
Yeah,
I think Monopolis might be some, but that's a tough trial.
That's a tough trial. I mean, we saw it last weekend with the trials for the Golden 10 million. The first trial set the bar. That was Golden Boy, who ended up being the fastest qualifier. Set the tone for the night. That first trial is stacked, absolutely stacked. What do you think they're going to go? What do you think the fastest clocking might be at the end of the night?
I think the ones that could throw the biggest would be either him or Flashback could fire a big one, but I think it's either going to be a favorite Doc or Monopolis with the fastest time. I would say probably 51, 52 would be around there. Because they're all going to go for you're not guaranteed to get into the final if you finish in the top 2 because there's too many good horses in here.
You
can't just coast if you're near the lead.
Yeah. Look who joins us again, Professor G. Welcome back.
You guys are frozen. I just see you guys frozen. There we go.
Oh, are you back on? There you go. False alarm. We did not have Professor G just back. Well, George, thanks so much for joining us to take a look at this pick six sequence. Good luck to you on this Saturday night. And if people want to gain some insight, can they follow you on Twitter for some charts or for any kind of handicapping information?
I'm not that active on Twitter, but yeah, it's at Quarters GD. But I mean, anybody can message me or ask me about a trip note or opinion on a horse. I have no problem giving my insight to them.
All right, just check out for George on Twitter if you want to get in touch with him. And good luck to you this weekend. And we'll see you out there at the races.
All right, see ya.